Let's talk about EVs. You have talked for some time about getting towards what you guys call variable profitability, or profits per vehicle as they're manufactured. Can you still get there by the end of this year? And then when do you see greater full profitability for your EV business?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Parts Talk. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Now, CNBC's Phil LeBeau, hopefully I pronounce his name right, chatted with GM CEO Mary Barra during the Detroit automakers' Investor Day on Tuesday, October 8th. Mary makes several compelling points about GM's future, but there are a few areas where further scrutiny is very much needed. So in this video, we will do a reaction to Mary Barra's short but concise interview. But before we dig in, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. And if you have to go before the end, please, I'll be grateful if you could smash that thumbs up button. The algorithm would really appreciate it. So let's get right into this.
Here with General Motors Chair and CEO Mary Barra, as you begin what is going to be your first Investor Day in a couple of years. And I think it starts at a time when a lot of people are looking at GM and they're saying, boy, you've really been able to increase your profits over the last couple of years. Is this as good as it gets? Are you at peak profitability? What do you say to those investors?
I say that we're not. I think we still have tremendous opportunity to continue to grow our ICE vehicles. We have 8 new SUVs coming out next year that are going to either be all new or refreshed, that are going to have improved profitability in key segments like the Escalade, like the Equinox from an ICE perspective. And then our EV portfolio is going to continue to grow. And I'm very pleased that we are now in the second place from a U.S. Sales perspective, which I think is an indication that we have the right EVs for the market. So I think that, along with our discipline, the $2 billion we talked about taking out of our fixed cost, will happen by the end of this year. So there's many levers that we can pull that are within our control to continue to improve our revenue and our profitability.
So let's talk about China first, and then we'll get on to those other points. In China, you lost $210 million in the first half of the year. Everybody knows what's happening with that market, especially for the non-Chinese automakers there who have so much capacity that seems to be too much capacity. How do you change that? How do you restructure operations in China so you get back in the black?
Well, that is our goal, and we're working with our partner to do that. We actually have a board meeting with our partner later this month, but there's already tremendous work going on from a restructuring perspective. What you'll see is, one, getting inventories down so we can build to the market, stay with and have the right inventory, which is going to allow us to strengthen pricing. But we're already starting to see an uptick from a sales perspective. So we're looking across the business, how do we right size it, restructure it, so we have a going profitable business as we go forward.
There's a concern in the auto industry for...
Okay, let me pause right there. As you know, fair use, so I have to allow her to speak, then we can actually critique most of what she's saying. But while GM continues to push ICE vehicles with new SUVs like the Escalade and the Equinox, as she mentioned earlier, it seems misaligned with the global trends pushing for electric vehicles right now. But also, the price points for these particular SUVs only create a niche for GM's top tier. Where is the push for small mid-size sedans and family vehicles? We're not seeing that anymore. And why is she so hell-bent on dividing GM's lineup between the haves and the have-not? The Escalades aren't much cheap. So I can remember some years ago, GM did announce that they would discontinue the Chevy Cruze, but they had a heavy backlash from their dealers. The Chevy Cruze maybe is still their number one selling car in their entire lineup. So we'd like to see a lot more push off the price points where the average consumer can actually afford one of their cars. And maybe what is happening is that they've been pushing the trucks a whole lot, the Chevy trucks. Then again, GM's EV push is commendable, but the reliance on ICE vehicles could slow down their EV ambition to transition in a market that is constantly changing at light speed, and they need an entry-level EV to start win customers. Majority of people right now are still on the fence with electric vehicles. Let's continue.
or the non-Chinese automakers, that as talk of greater tariffs, whether it's here in the U.S. and Canada or in Europe or other markets around the world, that it makes it more difficult for those companies in China to operate in China. Are you finding that? Are you finding greater resistance to what you want to do in China because of the talk about tariffs against Chinese automakers outside of that market?
I don't necessarily think it's tariff related, but I think what we've seen over the last few years is a structural change in China with the growth of Chinese OEMs really in the new energy vehicles. And so that has changed the dynamics in the market, and we've got to adjust to that. But I think it's a large market. I think the market still has tremendous growth potential, and I think we can go in with products that consumers are really going to want to have. We just started with our premium import channel taking orders for the Chevrolet Tahoe, and we're seeing strong interest. So I think that there's a way that we can play that really is going to give customers choice and some access to some great vehicles.
Let's talk about EVs. You have talked for some time about getting towards what you guys call variable profitability, or profits per vehicle as they're manufactured. Can you still get there by the end of this year? And then when do you see greater full profitability for your EV business?
Okay, let's pause again right there, because she acknowledges GM's struggles in China, which is actually commendable, because you have to know exactly what your strategies are. And she attributes this to the rise of Chinese automakers in the NEV, the new energy vehicle space. But restructuring alone won't solve this. With companies like BYD leading the NEV tech and innovation, GM may need more drastic shifts in strategy. Furthermore, their slow response to China's rapidly evolving market has left them playing catch up in what remains the largest auto market globally. So let's hear what she has to say again.
Or profits per vehicle as they're manufactured. Can you still get there by the end of this year? And then when do you see greater full profitability for your EV business?
Well, we are on track right now to get to that roughly 200,000 vehicles from a wholesale perspective. And we believe with the trajectory that we're on right now, we will see variable profit positive still this year. And then we're going to go into next year. We still have several initiatives that we're using and leveraging our scale to get to full profitability. And that's the goal that we're on, but we're not going to stop there. Then we're going to continue to improve. And we are laying the foundation. We have several areas that we're working on to make that happen. One of them is in not only getting our battery plants scaled, but also leveraging different technologies.
Do you have a target date for full profitability?
Well, we have said we'd like to get to mid-single digit profitability next year. And so we're going to be working on that as we move forward. But again, that's a waypoint, not a destination. We'll continue to improve the EV profitability.
One of the things we've noticed at the Spring Hill plant when we were over there is the flexibility in manufacturing ICE vehicles on the same line with EVs. How much has that been able to allow you to drive down the cost in terms of manufacturing, both for EVs as well as for your ICE vehicles?
Well, it's critically important. And I mean, to start, by putting EVs into a plant that's already building ICE, we estimated that we saved about $1 billion then starting with a brand new greenfield plant. And so that starts with the savings. But then in manufacturing, it's all about efficiency and utilization. And when we can flex between the vehicles that are ICE in the plant, the XT5 and the XT6 for Cadillac versus the Lyriq and soon the Vistic, I think that gives us the maximum flexibility to really continue to get that scale and drive costs down.
Let me ask you quickly about the overall market. A lot of concerns that we're seeing.
She seems optimistic about GM achieving EV profitability by mid-2024, and we're already in October 2024 right now, so the year is almost done, and their factory flexibility producing ICE and EVs on the same lines is smart from a cost-saving perspective, saving over $1 billion per plant, but it may hinder rapid EV scaling. Dedicated EV plants like Tesla's gigafactories seems to offer faster production scaling. She also mentions GM taking the second spot in the United States EV sales, but Tesla and China still hold a commanding lead. GM's target of 200,000 EVs annually is impressive, but it needs more aggressive scaling to compete with Tesla and newer competitors like Rivian and Lucid. They also face fierce competition from China. EV automakers like BYD, which dominate their domestic market there, are quickly expanding internationally. So much so, European Union and North America here, Canada and the United States has slapped tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles. Let's continue.
A plateau here because prices haven't come down as much as people would like to see them come down, and obviously interest rates for auto loans remain elevated relative to where they are. You're raising incentives. Are you concerned that this market is kind of locked into a range here where we just don't see the growth that many expected to see?
I don't, because when I look at it, yes, we have very successful products and our average transaction prices are high, but we also now are number one in entry-level SUVs with the Chevrolet Trax and the Buick Envista. So again, we're meeting the customer where they are from an ICE and an EV perspective. On the EV side, we now have the Chevrolet Equinox EV that's more affordable, and we'll have additional models coming out. So I think across the market, we have growth opportunity, and we've been disciplined and will continue to be disciplined in how much we build. We're not going to build too many. That allows us to maintain price and maintain low incentives, well below industry average. And it's that kind of discipline that I think separates us from a lot of our competitors right now.
Finally, with the economy overall, how do you feel as you take a look at not only going into the end of the year, but more importantly, as you look into 25?
Well, right now we're still seeing a strong consumer from the personal household balance sheet. When we look at jobs, when we look at unemployment, across the board, we're seeing a strong consumer.
Mary Barra, Chair and CEO of General Motors, before the company's 2024 Investor Day.
Well, at least she's acknowledging rising incentives and high automotive prices right now, but downplays potential market stagnation. And the high interest rates for auto loans and elevated car prices make it difficult for many consumers to afford new vehicles right about now. Although GM leads in entry-level SUVs like the Chevrolet Trax, the rising cost of living and consumer debt could dampen long-term growth unless prices actually come down. Mary Barra paints an optimistic picture. GM faces significant challenges, particularly with competition in electric vehicles, but all she emphasizes is entry-level SUVs, both domestically and abroad. GM is making progress, but will need to accelerate their EV efforts to be more aggressive in China if they want to stay competitive in the rapidly evolving auto dealer industry. China is busting everyone's ass right now which eats sales every day. Most car makers at this time should just find their own niche and lock in. Tesla is doing great with their Model Y, like Toyota with their Corolla, Ford with the F-150. And some added information I want to leave you with. There's an abundance of cars sitting on dealer lots right about now, advertising great prices. However, do not fall victim to so-called experts telling you when and what to say to a car salesman to get the great deal right now. If you have to borrow more than 50% of the price to buy a car, you can't afford it. If you have to dig deep into your savings to buy a car, you still can't afford it. A car depreciates. Interest rates are still too high. Inflation and costs of living is still rising. I advocate that you use disposable income to purchase a car, meaning it's money you are willing to lose, and not worry about how you are going to repair your car should something go wrong. I'm just saying, always factor in the cost of maintenance, insurance, fuel, etc. when buying a vehicle. It's just a word of mouth. The deal may sound great, but further down the line, you have to have contingencies in place. So let's go to the comments and hear what some of the viewers has to say about this particular interview. The first comment says, rolling on the floor laughing. That's ROFL. They just fired 1,200 software engineers, 600 in the United States. That tells you everything you need to know about this company. Mary Barra is a tough CEO. She's been a tough journey which seemed to have aged her quite a bit, but she hung in there. From the failed deal with Nikola and on, it has not been easy, but she is tough. Congrats. I must say that she's not been afraid to stand up and tell it as it is based on what is going on in the market. But as you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. This one says she's a great actress. I think there's a teleprompter somewhere behind Phil's head. And sometimes these messages, these comments are just so straight to the point. I love my lyric EV. That's a positive one there for GM. This one says she's done a great job. Give her a pay raise. Wow. On top of that, over $1 million she's earning. Wow. Okay, this next one says, auto industry greed, just insulting. The other one says she should be fired along with the board for selling junk cars. But that's a good thing about social media. Gives everyone the opportunity to say what's on their mind, at least type what's on their mind. Let's read this last one. GM is on the right path of all EVs. That is where the industry and demand is going. People need to test drive and do a bit of research before investing in a car that different from what they've known for the past 130 years. But as they do, as I did, they love them and buy them as I did. I sold both of my ICE cars and bought 2 new EVs and absolutely love them. Here's someone who is championing electric vehicles. You know, I will leave the link to this video in the description box below for your use. Thanks to CNBC for carrying this particular interview with Mary Barra. And as usual, let me know your thoughts in my comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.